obviously was with her young husband and just simply wanted the love of his body next to her, and he wasn't there.
Well, someone else that's making headlines this week who is used to some of the hate going her way, similar to Harry and Meghan, is Sarah Ferguson. And she gave an interview to Tea with Twiggy, which is a podcast. And I was actually surprised about this, Stuart. Maybe you can give me some insight. She was actually gushing over her former mother-in-law, Queen Elizabeth II. I sort of felt like since her departure and divorce from Prince Andrew, that she might not speak so highly of the royal family anymore. But she was saying that the Queen was her, quote, greatest mentor. And even after the divorce, that she continues, she said, quote, I think to myself that honestly, my mother-in-law has been more of a mother to me than my own mother. Were you surprised to hear this?
Not in the slightest, no, because those of us who know that both Andrew and Sarah Ferguson are once more living together.
Right.
They're living together at the Royal Lodge in Windsor Great Park, which is a very fabled royal residence, which was lived in for many, many, many years by Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. So it's favored by the Queen and by her principal children as being the most sacred oasis. It is extraordinary. I mean, as a child, my father was involved in the royal family as a royal servant, so I would visit copiously, and it was absolutely extraordinary. Now, what happens, which we don't know about, is that the Queen, when she's residing at Windsor Castle, she drives herself a distance of just 10-minute drive to the Royal Lodge in Windsor Great Park and has tea virtually every single week, every single Saturday and Sunday. So what's happened over the last 5 years particularly is there has become this very close, complicit, intrinsic union between the Queen, Andrew, Fergie, and the two daughters and their husbands.
That is great. And I guess I just assumed, being over here in America, that once Fergie was sort of left and sort of, did some controversial things, that she was almost sent away. But I guess I knew that she was living with Andrew, so it makes sense that they would have this sort of family bond even after divorce.
It's very extraordinary. It's one of those bizarre relationships. Obviously, they both came to it very young from an emotional point of view, and they lived as successfully as they possibly could. And then Andrew immediately became involved in the Royal Navy, and Sarah Ferguson, Fergie, was left alone in Buckingham Palace for large amounts of time. I mean, we're talking about months and months and months and months.
Wow.
And she's a lady that is full of the most extraordinary vitality, and obviously was with her young husband and just simply wanted the love of his body next to her, and he wasn't there. So things went awry, and as a result of that, she started to explore what that was all about. She started to explore the capacity of her loving mechanisms elsewhere. That's what happens, right? But now they're really realizing the extraordinary union that they have together.
Wow, I love that. Fergie said on the podcast, I just wanted to read this quote. She said, quote, I absolutely admire the incredible way Her Majesty is so modern, and how flexible and how understanding and how forgiving and generous and kind. I absolutely think there is no greater mentor. The consistency of Her Majesty has been a great honor, a huge honor, and makes me want to cry. I mean, when I read that, I need to go and listen to this podcast and hear her say it. But just reading the quote, it makes me so happy to hear that there is such a special relationship to this day.
Yes, and I feel that Her Majesty has tempered very considerably and has expanded her latitude, has expanded her bandwidth as a result of what she's been through, because she knows that she's moving towards, not through her salad days, but she's moving towards a point of seniority where how long she will be alive, heaven knows. So she's determined to cultivate a very profound sense of legacy. She's a very devout Christian, and what comes with that is compassion, unconditional love, understanding, forgiveness, and mercy. And after all, her favorite son, Prince Andrew, has been through a little bit of a skirmish over the last couple of years. And that still has not actually been, it hasn't moved to its final resolution. And so, she's there supporting in the most extraordinary way.
Right. Fergie has come, speaking of that, Fergie has come out and saying that she believes his innocence. What do you make of that? I mean, clearly that proves that they are on good terms if she's willing to go to bat for her ex-husband in this way over some very heinous allegations.
Yeah. Well, who knows, frankly.
Right, at this point, right.
Just psychologically looking at what you're talking about and the nuance that's involved. The point is that he is saying categorically, I don't know who this young woman was.
Right.
And, he may have been a friend of Epstein, but the fact is he didn't know who this young woman was. So we have to accept that that's ipso facto truth.
Right.
Okay, so he had an eye, as any strapping young man does, for the attraction of the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever our sexuality is. And but that doesn't necessarily mean that he became a sex offender. It's just that he's unfortunate in his choice of friends. That's all. That doesn't mean to say that he was engaged in orgies or whatever the tabloid press is suggesting he was.
Right. Well, we will see, like you said, until for now, that's the case, but we'll see how this plays out. It'll be interesting.